All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about something called two-step equations. Now, we've been spending a lot of time solving one-step equations, meaning there's one step to solve them, right? If you see addition or subtraction, you do the inverse. You either do addition or subtraction, or if you see multiplication division, you do the inverse of that. So for multiplication, you would do division, and then if you saw division, you would do multiplication. Today, we're going to be looking at problems that look like this. They have both addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division in them. And so what we need to do is figure out, how do I solve these? How do I get these to get the variable by itself? And the key to doing this is going to be that we're going to be trying to do order of operations backwards, okay? Now, you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Guy, what do you mean order of operations backwards? How does that work? Basically, we're going to take PEMDAS, okay? So if you remember PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're going to be doing this in the order that's backwards of that to try to undo these equations to solve for the variable that's missing. So if I write out PEMDAS here, basically what my goal is when I'm solving these is that I'm going to be getting rid of the addition and subtraction first, because that's the bottom here, so I'll do that first, and then I'm going to be trying to get rid of the multiplication and division. So I'm going to be doing whatever the step is to get rid of the addition and subtraction, and then I'll do the step to get rid of that multiplication division. What does that look like? Here's basically what that's going to look like. I'll take my equation, I'll start by subtracting 20 from both sides. That's the addition or subtraction. Subtracting 20 gets me to 0 to get rid of that, so I end up with this equation right here. Then I'll go ahead and divide both sides by -6. All right, that's what my multiplication division step. I'll get rid of that, and I'll end up with my final answer. In this case, that's going to be that D equals -9.5. And again, I got rid of the addition or subtraction first, and then I went ahead and did my division or multiplication to get the variable by itself. Those are the two steps that we're talking about. We talk about a two-step equation, the addition or subtraction, and then the multiplication division to get it by itself. I'm not fully done here, though. What do I still need to do? Oh, yeah, the check step, right? We have to make sure we do our check step. Take this -9.5, put it back in for D up here, and make sure that when I do -6 times the -9.5, and then I add 20 to that, I should end up with 77. And luckily enough for me, when I do that, I will in fact get 77. So, okay, 77 equals 77. I'm good to go. My check step worked out. Make sure you do that check step every time. Okay, here's another problem. Whoa, here comes at us. W divided by 3 plus 14 equals -31. Well, what am I going to do first? What do I get rid of first? Well, the first thing we get rid of is that addition. I'm going to be subtracting 14 from both sides. Again, we get rid of the addition or subtraction first. So I have W divided by 3 equals -45. And now I can go ahead and multiply by 3 to get my final answer, which is going to be -135. But again, I still need to make sure I do my check step to make sure my answer worked out. So I'll do -135 divided by 3, and then I'm going to be adding 14 to that, and it needs to equal -31. And if it doesn't, then I know I did something wrong. But luckily again for me is that this ends up being the correct answer. I did it correctly, and -31, that's equal to -31. So I'm good to go. My check step worked out. All right, make sure you check step every time. And again, the two steps, what are they? We're going to do our addition and subtraction first, and then we're going to look to do our multiplication and division. All right, here's another problem. Whoa, this keeps coming at me here. K divided by 5 minus -12 equals 18. Now, this one kind of has a little bit of an extra step to it because I'm going to change that minus -12 and make it a plus 12, right? If I subtract a negative, it's the same thing as adding. And now that I have it written like this, I'll go ahead and do my two steps. The first step, subtract 12 from both sides. So that's going to give me K over 5 equals 6. Again, get rid of the addition or subtraction first. Then I'll get rid of the multiplication or division. In this case, that's multiplying by 5, and I end up with that K equals 30 as my final answer. And again, I can do my check step. I'm going to be doing 30 divided by 5. I can skip right to the plus 12, right? And make sure that that equals 18. Okay, well, 30 divided by 5 is 6, plus 12. Oh, yeah, I do get 18. All right, we're good to go here. My check step worked out. You want to check that every single time. Make sure you're doing that check step. All right, here's another two-step equation. Negative 12n plus 16 equals negative 76. Mr. Guy, you're starting to sound like a broken record. You're doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, anytime we see a two-step equation, we're going to solve it the exact same way. Get rid of the addition or subtraction, and then get rid of that multiplication or division. So in this case, I see plus 16. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. I get that negative 12n equals negative 92. Then I'm going to be dividing by negative 12, canceling that out, and I'm going to get that n equals, in this case, 7 2/3, or 7.6 repeating. And I can check that answer by going ahead and plugging it back in and making sure I get negative 76 on both sides, which I will in this case, and my check step works out. Solving a two-step equation is something that we are going to be using the rest of the year. In fact, you're going to see this all the time. It's going to boil down to, all right, solving a two-step equation. You need to know these steps inside and out. It needs to be second nature. It needs to be natural. Whenever you see something that looks like this up here, this two-step equation, you need to automatically know, oh yeah, I'm adding and subtracting, and then I'm multiplying and dividing. All right, we're doing that order of operations backwards. We get rid of the addition and subtraction first, then we get rid of that multiplication and division. All right, here's another one. Oh, 9 plus w over 7 equals 8. How do I solve it? Oh yeah, Mr. Guy told me I get rid of the addition or subtraction, then I go ahead and get rid of that multiplication or division. Even though our variable is in the middle, and we're like, oh, it's in the middle, maybe it'll mess us up. No, same process. I'm going to get rid of that 9, subtract 9 from both sides. I get w over 7 equals negative 1. I'm then going to multiply both sides by 7, and I'm going to get that w equals negative 7. And once again, I do my check step. Take that negative 7, plug it back in. 9 plus negative 7 over 7, that's going to equal 8. That means I'm good. I did my check step. It all worked out. All right? Two-step equations. Get rid of the addition or subtraction, then get rid of the multiplication. My goal is that tonight when you go to sleep, all you can think about in your head is two-step equations. I get rid of addition or subtraction, then I get rid of multiplication and division. All right? Same thing every time. If you can do the one-step equations that we did earlier, you can do these two steps. It's just combining them together, basically. Get rid of that addition and subtraction, then get rid of that multiplication and division. Here's another one. Mr. Guy, how do we solve this one? Guess what we're going to do? We're going to add 29 to both sides. Get rid of that subtraction that's there. 17d equals 85. Then guess what we're going to do? We're going to divide by 17 because we got to get rid of that division that's there. And we're going to end up with d equals 5. And again, plug the 5 back in. Make sure your check step works out. And then you get 56 on both sides, which we will in this instance. All right? Here's another one. Oh, wait, Mr. Guy, this one looks a little bit different, okay? You have 3 times x plus 9 equals 42. How are you going to solve this one? Well, let's take a look. Oh, wait, hold on. This is a little bit different. You're dividing by 3, but I thought we got rid of the addition or subtraction first. Well, this two-step is slightly different. Remember how we said we want to do order of operations backwards? Let's go ahead and let's write our PEMDAS again. Because I have these parentheses around my x plus 9, that would fall under the P in PEMDAS, right? The parentheses part. So I see parentheses here, but I see this multiplication. I want to get rid of the multiplication before I do the parentheses. So I'm actually going to divide by 3 the first time here, and then I'll go ahead and subtract 9 to get that x equals 5. So the only time that we're going to do that in a different order is when we have those parentheses, because we're just going to go ahead and think of that, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, backwards, do the multiplication division, and then the parentheses, okay? So when we have parentheses, that comes after the multiplication division. There is one other way to solve this, and for some of you who maybe have seen this before, you might be thinking, well, Mr. Guy, what if I distribute the 3 through? If you decide to do that, you'll end up with a two-step equation again, and then you can go ahead and solve that one as you please, all right? That's up to you how you want to solve that. All right, here's another one. Well, let's do please excuse my dear Aunt Sally backwards. I'm going to get rid of that addition, subtract 18, for a k equals negative 70. Then I'm going to divide by 4, and I'm going to get that k equals negative 17.5 or negative 17.5. Again, I can check it, plug it back in, make sure that it works. Okay? Oh man, Mr. Guy, we'll just keep going with the examples over and over again. That's because they're the same thing every time, these two-step equations. This one, I'm going to add 3.6 to both sides. But there's decimals, Mr. Guy. That's okay. We just talked about how to do this with decimals. It doesn't change the process that we're doing here. And then I'll go ahead and multiply both sides by 4, and I'll get that W equals 37.6. We're doing that Aunt Sally backwards. We're doing the addition and subtraction, then the multiplication division. If we have parentheses, that happens after that multiplication and division. All right, again, here's another one with parentheses. So wait, parentheses go after the multiplication division. So I'm going to start by dividing by 5. I get that m plus 7 equals about 5.2. And then I'll subtract 7 from both sides and get that m equals negative 1.8. And again, check step, plug it back in. Make sure that I'm getting the answer that I'm supposed to be getting. All right, here's one that's got a little bit more going on. Does this look like the two-step equations that we saw before? No, but we can make it look like a two-step equation, okay? The first thing I would do with this one is combine my like terms. I have a 6 and I have a 15, and those will combine together and become 21. Now it looks like a two-step equation that we're all familiar with. I'll subtract 21 from both sides. I get that 3d equals 75. Then I'll get rid of the multiplication by dividing by 3. And get that d equals 25. All right, last one we're going to look at for today. Here's another two-step equation, but wait, hold on. This one looks really weird. In fact, this one's actually not a linear equation, okay? It's what we call a quadratic equation. Whoa, big words, Mr. Guy. What are you talking about? It's got that b squared in there, okay? It's got that b squared. So how do we solve this problem with the b squared? What do we do? Well, we're still going to be doing our Aunt Sally backwards. We're still going to be doing PEMDAS backwards. I'm going to get rid of that subtraction first. So I'll add 18 to both sides. I'm going to get that b squared equals 196. And then if I think about my please excuse dear Aunt Sally backwards, exponents would then come next, and this is an exponent. How do I get rid of something squared? I'm actually going to do what's called a square root, and square root both sides. Or I can think about the fact that b times b is the same thing as b squared. So I'm thinking about in my head, what number times itself equals 196? And I'm going to get the answer that b can equal 14. But that's actually not the only answer that can make that true. There's actually another one. We're going to add a little plus or minus in front of this 14 because it could be a positive 14 or a negative 14. Negative 14 times negative 14 also equals 196. So when we have these squareds, we actually can get more than one answer, all right? But 9 times out of 10, most of the times what we're going to be doing in here are these linear equations, these two-step equations where you need to do the addition, subtraction, then the multiplication, division. If there's parentheses, we'll do that multiplication division, then we'll go ahead and do what's inside the parentheses. We're doing the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're doing it backwards, all right? Those are two-step equations. Thank you for watching.